Subscribe our channel and press the bell icon so that you can watch our latest videos at very first.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm gonna share a top interview question based on Java. So believe me guys, this question is very much important for the interviews. If you go through all the questions which I am sharing in this video, then you are gonna definitely answer all the question based on Java if the interviewer asks any question on the Java. So let's take a look of all the question without any further delay. So the first question is why Java is platform independent. This is because, let's take an example of Python. Python is an interpreter language. Let's take an example of C++. C++ is a compiled language. So what the compiled language means? If you compile the code of C++ in a particular operating system, then it convert into a bytecode which can run on that system only. If we are using Windows, then it is converted into exe.exe. Same usual as Linux or Mac OS. So according to these operating system, the C++ code are converted. But in Java, what happens is it converted into a platform independent bytecode. That means I can say .class file, and that class file can be runnable in any OS like Windows, Linux, Mac OS. But the condition is what? A JVM is installed in that particular OS. Then only the Java code is going to be runnable. That's why a Java is a platform independent language. Write once, run anywhere language. So let's take a look of the second question. The second question is why Java is not pure object-oriented programming language. We all know that Java is pure object-oriented programming language, or a fully object-oriented programming language. Without class, we can't run a Java code. A class is needed in a Java code, but in C++ or C, we can directly run the code with the help of main function only. But in Java, class is required. That's why we all are saying that it is a purely object-oriented programming language. But Java is not a purely object-oriented programming language because it supports some data types like integer, long, character that are predefined. That's why it is not a pure object-oriented programming language. It is a predefined data types. But object-oriented programming language means what? All the things, all the methods, all the variables are defined by user only. But here, a predefined are there. That's why Java is not a pure object-oriented programming language. So let's take a look of third question. So third question is why Java don't have pointers. We all know that in C or C++ there is a concept of pointer. So with the help of pointer, what we can do is we can directly access a memory. We can change the value stored in that particular memory with the help of pointer. But in Java, we don't want this because this arise a very much security problem. If you take an example of a beginner Java developer, and if there is a concept of pointer, then a beginner Java developer can drastically affect the memory with the help of pointer. It can change all the data in the memory directly, and it directly affect the company. But Java don't wants it. Java wants it to get rid of pointer so that it can reduce the complexity also, because pointer is a complex topic. And also Java don't want to share his data with beginner Java developers. That's why Java don't take use of pointers. But yeah, there is a concept of reference in a Java. You can go through a linked list portion for that. How can we go through the references in Java? But in C++, for implementation of linked list, we use a concept of pointer. So yeah, let's move on to the question number 4. So question number 4 is instance variable versus local variable. Instance variable versus local variable. So instance variable is what? A global variable which can directly written in a class. Like suppose int a are written in a class, and local variable is that variable which are written or which is written in a method itself, in method and b. So why we are saying this is a global and this is a local variable? Because the scope of this variable are on this method only. apart from this method we can't access that variable, and the scope of this variable in class only, and in that class if we declare some other methods, then that method also can use a variable a. That's why we are saying a is a global variable. So let's move on to the question number 5. So question number 5 is encapsulation versus abstraction. We all know that both are the concept of data hiding, but in encapsulation what we are doing is we are wrapping all the methods, all the data in a single unit like a capsule structure, so that we can hide the important data from the user and from the outside, so that an outsider can't access that particular data. We only show that data which we are willing to show. But in abstraction we are hiding the data for the purpose of reducing complexity. Let's take an example of remote. In remote we know what are the function of the button, but how that function are working inside that remote we don't aware of that. That is basically abstraction is. So let's quickly move on to the question number 6. Question number 6 is JIT compiler in Java. So JIT means just in time. The concept of JIT and the importance of JIT is very much. If we are compiling a source code in a Java, we all know that it is converted into .class file. But what the JIT compiler do, all the methods which are of same type or the datas which are of same type, it compiles all the methods, all the datas at a time to reduce the compilation time. That's basically the importance of JIT over here. So let's quickly move on to the question number 7. So question number 7 is what equals versus equal. We all know that the working of both are like same, but the basic difference is what? That equal to operator check the address of the particular variable. If we are writing a equal to b, then it is going to check is the address of a is equal to address of b. If both the address are equal, then that means a is pointing to that address which are b pointing. But equals not checking the address, it directly check the value. That's a basically difference between equals and a double equal. So let's quickly move on to the question number 8. So question number 8 is what infinite loop declaration. How can we declare an infinite loop in a for, in a while, in a do while? So for declaration of infinite loop in a for, we can just write for semicolon, again semicolon, and just make a curly braces over here. This is an infinite for loop. For while loop, what we can do is while true and curly braces over here. In do while loop, what we can write? Do while true. So that's basically 3 type of infinite loops: in a for, in a while, in a do while loop. This is basically a syntax of infinite loops. So yeah, let's move on to the question number 9. So question number 9 is overloading versus overriding. Both are very important concept in Java and basically in OOPS. For overloading, minimum 1 class is required, and for overriding, minimum 2 classes is required. Let's suppose this is a parent class, this is a child class, and here is 1 class is required. If you are making a method called add without any parameter, and here another method with some parameter, so this is basically a method overloading. If you are calling a method with parameterize, then it's going to call or execute that method. If you are calling a add method without any parameter, then it's going to execute that method. This is a method overloading. But method overriding is what? Here we are declare add method, and here we again declare a add method, and this child class inherit a parent class. So if you are calling a add method, then basically this add method is going to override this add method. And yeah, here a very great concept of private, public, protected, but we are just going through a overriding concept only, what the overriding is. So yeah, let's move on to the question number 10. So question number 10 is final keyword in Java. Final keyword in Java is very much important. So we are using final keyword for a class, for a method, or for a variable. So let's take a look of all the threes. If we declare a class with a final keyword, then that means that class is not inherited by another class. If we declare a final method, then that means that method is not overridden by another methods of its child class. And if we declare a final variable, that means that variable value is not going to be changed anymore. That's basically a final keyword is in Java. So let's quickly move on to the question number 11. Question number 11 is objective of garbage collection in Java. So why we are using, or we can say why the concept of garbage collection in Java arises. Because in Java what happens is all the objects, or we can say methods or variables which are unused are automatically deleted by Java after the execution of that program. But in other languages like C++, C, we have to declare a delete methods for deleting that unused methods. But in Java, it done automatically. That's why garbage collection is very much important in Java, and memory management happens automatically in Java. So yeah, let's quickly move on to the question number 12. So question number 12 is what is the use of super keyword in Java? So let's suppose we have two classes, a parent class and a child class. In parent class, we have a constructor, and in child class, we have a constructor. And if we are creating an object of child class and we are calling that constructor, we all know that constructor is invoked automatically if we are declared or created an object of child class. So for accessing the constructor of parent class, we have to write a super keyword over here so that it can access a constructor of parent class and print out on a main function. So that's basically a use of super keyword. So yeah, that's all for this video, guys. If this video is really informative for you, please like and share this video, and also subscribe to my channel because subscriber is very much important. So yeah, I am wrapping this video over here, and we will meet next time.